Hey everybody, this is Tracy with a view from Tracy's Point, and we are here for today's edition of Hot Topics versus Girls Chat. Which is where I talk about the hot topics and trending conversations between the Wendy Williams show and The Real. So today was kind of slow. So hopefully I can get through this video really quickly. As you guys know, Wendy Williams is out on an extended medical leave and filling in for her Monday, Tuesday, and today was Nick Cannon. Today was Nick's last day. Tomorrow, I can't remember who they said was going to be on there tomorrow, but Friday, Kiki Palmer is going to be the guest host. So I know I'll definitely be checking in on Friday and probably will check in tomorrow. Nick was starting to wear on me, and I guess some of the other audience, and I kept talking about how loud he was talking. So he addresses that when he comes out today. And so Nick came out looking like a cross between a New York drug kingpin and a magician. Okay, like he had on this red shirt and these black pants, and then he had this jacket on, like really weird looking jacket. And so he admits that we were right about the screaming and yelling, because he says that he's lost his voice and he has to tone it down. But I'm thinking maybe after the show yesterday, Kenan Thompson pulled him to the side and checked him about talking so loud and talking over him. And you guys can check out my thoughts on that from yesterday's video. And so then Nick went on to clown his own self and said that he realized he was dressed like a magician. So he asked the audience, how were they enjoying Hot Topics? And of course, everybody was clapping and saying he was doing a great job. And he said that he has to talk about two things that he had been avoiding. And he said on Monday that, he didn't want to talk about the Bow Wow Kiyomi. And I think I was calling that girl Kalani or something. But it's Kiyomi. So he said he was avoiding that conversation, because they are his friends, and she is actually a wild and out girl. He says, but he wanted to talk to them before he actually talked about it on the show. And so I mentioned in another video, I was like, he just totally skirted that issue, and I didn't think that was right, for him to avoid talking about it because they're his friends. So he says that he's forced to talk about it now because the both of them are going to be on an upcoming episode of Wild and Out. Not sure if that airs tonight but one day this week they are going to be on there. And so he, went on to talk about how they're his personal friends. And he says that he finally is approaching the arrest. They were both arrested in a domestic violence incident. And he said that he reached out, but neither one wanted to speak on it. He said that Bow Wow sent him a statement, like a formal statement, instead of returning the phone call, which is what a real friend would have done. And he says Kiyomi did speak, but said that she couldn't say much because they both have to go to court, so she doesn't want to say anything to incriminate herself. So she just, basically thanked him for calling. So then they played a clip of the show and of the Wild and Out episode, and Bow Wow like really shaded Nick when he was doing that, when they be throwing shade at each other. And so then Nick tried to get back at him, I guess, by shading Bow Wow. And, the rumor has it that the fight was over Kiyomi flirting with Shaq. And Nick says that it would take Bow Wow and Kevin Hart like standing on each other's shoulders to be as tall as Shaq. And says that what this proved was that Kiyomi has no type, because how do you go from Bow Wow to Shaquille O'Neal? Like, that's a huge difference. So he asked the audience, how did they feel, and says that he always takes the woman's side in domestic violence disputes, but the referee side of him is on Bow Wow's side, and he believes that nobody should be putting their hands on anyone, whether you're a man or a woman, and we need to raise a fund for Bow Wow because like he is so embarrassed and so humiliated right now, because when you look at the pictures, it really looks like she kicked Bow Wow's behind. And he says that, the Wild 'N Out girls are dangerous and he only hires powerful queens. And so he's not surprised that Kiyomi got the best of Bow Wow. So then he moves on to Chris Pratt, and he said that, Chris Pratt is engaged to Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. To celebrate his impending marriage, that he went to the strip club, but he thought it was odd that he went to the strip club by himself. And then he joked and said that he asked that Chris Pratt made a joke and said that he asked the stripper to marry him after she gave him this like phenomenal lap dance. And then Nick was saying that, that was crazy of him to do that, considering Arnold Schwarzenegger is the girl's father, but says that Arnold shouldn't be mad because Chris Pratt had a stripper, but Arnold had Mildred, the maid. And if you guys don't know the story, he cheated with the maid and they had a child together and pretty much ruined his marriage. So Nick went on to say that we're in such a progressive time and liberation for women that we need to stop looking down on strippers. And he said that he has paid a lot of strippers tuition in his lifetime because he likes going to the strip club. And then he asked the question, what's the difference between a stripper and a Victoria's Secrets model? Good point. So next he moved on to DMX. And DMX was released from prison about 2 weeks ago, and he was saying that the brother has been through so much, and has announced that he's going on tour. But fans and people in his camp were saying that they have an issue with him going out, saying that it's too soon and that it may impact his sobriety, because I guess every time he's gone to jail, he's been drinking and drugging and carrying on. And so they want him to like stay in a safe space. But then Nick says that he has to go out on tour because he owes the IRS $2 million. And the IRS don't be playing with these celebrities. They be sending folks to jail. Ask Lauryn Hill, ask Wesley Snipes, ask Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore, who just left to go serve his prison sentence. And so he was like, what is he supposed to do? Go work at McDonald's, become a crossing guard. And so as he's coming up with these jobs that DMX could be doing, he's like singing lyrics to some of his songs. And y'all know how DMX be talking fast and yelling out loud. And, it was hilarious. You would have to see it. I can't even begin to act like I can imitate what Nick did on that show today. So check it out when the clips are posted. So he went on to say that DMX has 15 kids with 9 baby mamas. And so he needs to get back to work and doing what he loves. And what he loves, is when you do what you love, you're being therapeutic and it helps you. So he thinks that he would do much better getting back out on the road and doing concerts, opposed to, just laying low and just being afraid to fail. Next, he talked about Kelsey Carter. And if you're not familiar with her, she was trending last week on social media because she's such a big fan of Harry Styles that she put tattooed his face on her cheek. And so people were like, that was the dumbest thing they'd seen or heard, and why would she do that? That was so stupid. Well, it turns out that it wasn't a permanent tattoo, that it was actually a drawing on her face. And the reason she did it was because she was promoting she has an album out, I think. And so she was doing that to promote the video for a song on the album called Harry. And it was a publicity stunt that she says only cost her $300, but it got her a whole bunch of attention. And so the things that people do to get attention and entertainment, and it's just crazy because we're talking about the Liam Neeson story, where he came out with this crazy story about racism to promote his new movie. And then people were saying that when Erykah Badu and Taraji P. Henson were talking on R. Kelly a few weeks ago, that was all publicity to garner attention for their movie that's coming out this week. So we'll be able to see if this really works by how this young lady is able to sell her CDs, and how these, or not CDs, but I guess streaming or however they're doing music now, and also whether these movies take off this weekend, because they both debut on Friday or this coming weekend. So then Nick took this opportunity to start talking about his story about Mariah. He keeps talking about Mariah. And I don't know if the people in the audience are tired of him talking about her, but I am definitely tired of him talking about it. And so he went into the story about the whole tattoo and how he had that tattoo on his back, and he has continuously evolved the tattoo, and now he's like tatted all over his whole body, and he's reserving one leg for Halle Berry and the other leg for Naomi Campbell when he finally gets his opportunity with them. And so he asked the audience how many of them had tattoos, and I was really surprised that it wasn't that many people, that clapped or said that they had tattoos. But what was not surprising, because I think not too many people would put a person that they're dating picture or name or anything on their body. And so there weren't that many people who said that they had tattoos, but of the people who did say that, it was unanimous that they would not put a tattoo on their body of a significant other. And so then he moved on to the young girl, Danielle Badby, I don't know how you pronounce her name, but Catch Me Outside Girl. And she has this reality TV show. And so he showed a video clip from the show, and I was just sitting there like, there is no way one of my children would be talking to me the way that girl was talking to her mother. And then I guess one of the angles on the show is the fact that she has these bodyguards. And so the bodyguards are saying like they feel that they are the parent and they're basically raising this teenage girl. And so Nick said that if he had to choose between Catch Me Outside Girl and one of the Jenners, Kylie or Kendall Jenner, he would choose the Catch Me Outside Girl. And so I was like, what the hell? And he was trying to explain why he was saying this. And I was so lost on what he was saying. But he was saying both kids are being exploited, to raise money, to make money. But he says that he feels that he would be able to control the Danielle girl and check her and make her sit down somewhere. But Kylie has just become this huge brand, and that there's really nothing that anybody can say to her because the girl is like worth almost $1 billion. So what you going to say to her? How are you going to check her, put her on punishment, or tell her what to do? So that led into him showing these videos of his kids. So now he's trying to exploit his kids on the Wendy Williams show and talk about how smart his kids are and how, he let them do videos and he put the videos on Instagram. And so the older kids were doing like yo mama jokes and yo daddy jokes, and jokes was corny as I don't know what, but I guess it was his opportunity. But I did like the fact that he says that his older daughter, but his 7-year-old daughter is tutoring his 1-year-old, and I think the 1-year-old must be close to 2 because yesterday he said it was a 2-year-old. But anyway, this child can read. So the daughter was putting up these cards that had words on them, and the little baby was sitting there saying the words. And I was just like, okay, is this a prank? Like, is somebody standing behind the camera that is like telling the child what to say? But that little baby was talking clear and was reading them words. And I was reading something a few years ago where it was saying that with each generation, like we don't use all of our brain power. We only use a small portion of our brain. And so as generations go on, these kids will be using more and more of their brain because of technology, all of these smart devices. You have this artificial intelligence around them with the Alexas and the Echoes and all of this stuff. And so kids are picking that up. And then it reminded me, we had our family reunion back in November, and one of my cousins had a baby, and I don't think the baby was no more than a year old, but she would crawl around and be dancing and playing and everything. And then the second somebody would pull a camera out, she'd stop and pose. And I was just like, this is so crazy. So I guess it is possible that this child who's almost 2 can read and articulate these words clear as any grown adult. So I do give Nick kudos for that. So his guest on the show was Killer Mike. So he was on there talking about a show he has on Netflix called Trigger Warning. And that's what he was there to promote. But while they were talking, they got on the subject of entrepreneurship. And so he was telling a story about he had wanted to buy this car, this Dodge Demon. And so he was contemplating buying this car. And then T.I. called him and was telling him about an apartment building that was up for sale, and that, you know, they should go in and buy this apartment building. And so I guess he didn't act on it at the time, but then he started thinking about, you know, instead of getting the Dodge, I want to buy a Rolls Royce. And so he told his wife about the Rolls Royce. She was like, no, you're not buying no Rolls Royce. Take that money and buy that apartment building. So he ended up buying the apartment building and said that it's now worth 3 times more than what he paid for it. And that his wife essentially showed him how to flip $500,000 and turn it into a big profit. And so when he was asked about the Super Bowl, he was saying that, you know, there was many roads to freedom, you know, and pointed out how, like, even during the civil rights movement, you know, Malcolm X was approaching it one way, Martin Luther King was approaching it another way, then Stokely Carmichael came along and had a whole different kind of approach to it. And so he said that he had to look at the Super Bowl from an economic impact, and that the game actually brought business to Black business owners. And so, you know, we say, yeah, boycott the Super Bowl, but then you had the Super Bowl in Chocolate City, you know, this predominantly Black city where all these people could benefit from it. So he had to say, no, you know, I can stand with the cause, but I'm not going to impact these businesses, you know, the strip clubs, the restaurants, the catering businesses, the transportation businesses, like all these different types of businesses. Black people are looking forward to making all this money for the weekend. And so he said he couldn't stand in the way of that. And so when Nick was talking about Colin Kaepernick, he was like, well, yeah, you know, I understand what you're saying. I get your point. And then he said that Kaepernick had even shared the murals, because there was a story about this mural that was on a building, I guess, that you would have to pass by to get to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then Friday, the building just came down. It was demolished. And so there was this huge effort that went into place to not only replace that mural, but to also put multiple murals up, you know, around the area. And they were able to get, I think, like 8 murals up, raised over $10,000 on the GoFundMe page. And so Colin Kaepernick, I guess, shared those images on his page. So it's not like he was mad about anything. And I'm sure he understands that, you know, people got to make money. I think the I'm with Cap thing was more or less about not watching it on television, not participating in what was going on in Atlanta. So the purpose of the Trigger Warning show on Netflix, he was saying that 7 to 10 years after slavery, Black people had already amassed a lot of wealth and land, and then somewhere along the way, we've kind of lost our way. And so he was saying that it's about being economically responsible, and to say, you know, Black businesses aren't about doing business with Black people. It's also about getting other people to come into the Black community and spend their dollars, and it doesn't matter, you know, what race those people are. Now let's move over to the reel. So the reel was a real snooze fest today. I did not enjoy it at all. And so they had a lot of the show, they were doing like a remote, they were in the studio, but they had somebody named Danya at Howard University, which didn't make any sense to me because they're showcasing a different city each week, and this week is Chicago. But last week they were showcasing Washington D.C. So why are they now on Chicago week and at Howard University? That didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, let's go. The first story was about Lori Harvey, who is Steve Harvey's stepdaughter. And so evidently she is out here playing the field. She was dating Trey Songz, and then she dropped him for Justin Coombs, who is P. Diddy's son. And then it also came out that she was rumored to have been dating Future at the same time. And so the question was, is it okay for women to multi-date? So that's what they're calling it now, when you're dating multiple people at the same time. So Lonnie says that Lori is not the first black woman to do that. And we know that for sure because if you know the whole story of Marjorie Harvey and how she was married to the one drug dealer, dating, he went to jail. Then she started dating the brother of the cousin. Then it came out that when she was with both of them, she was also with Steve Harvey, who was actually married at the time. So the girl, get it honestly, okay? So Lonnie says that she wrote a book before about dating and saying that women shouldn't do the 90-day rule that Steve talked about in his book, Think Like a Man. She says because you'll tie up all your time in those 90 days focusing on this one guy when you could have been out there dating other guys. And so she says that she was dating more than one guy before she chose the guy that she's dating now. And that's why she would never like post pictures or say anything about him. And that she hates the fact that, men could date multiple women, but then when women do it, then they want to do the slut shaming and put women down because their egos are hurt. And then Jeannie says single women should multi-date and it shouldn't be assumed that she's sleeping with every guy that she's dating. And she says that she's very open, that she dates multiple people and she let the people that she's going out with know that she's dating other people. She says that the disadvantage of dating one person is that you stunt your growth. And I kind of agree with her on, well, not about the multi-dating thing, but I agree with her that when you're in a committed relationship with one person, your focus kind of centers around that person. And so there may be things that you want to do, you want to go, you want to see. But if that person doesn't want to do it, then you're more likely not to engage and want to do those things also. So I did understand that part of what she was saying. But then she was saying that with multi-dating, you know when it's right and when it's wrong. So if you're dating 3 or 4 guys and then all of a sudden you start getting really serious about one of them, then you know not to waste your time with the other 3. And at that point you can pursue the guy that you're really interested in. So then Adrian said that just because someone takes a picture on social media doesn't mean that they are sleeping together. Then they went to the girl that was at Howard University and she was talking to a young lady named Sydney and they were like, okay, well, ask Sydney what does she think. And Sydney says that we should do what we want as long as we want. That, as long as we're being respectful. Then Adrian chimed in and said, do guys get insecure when women are dating multiple people? And I would venture to say that guys get very insecure when women are dating multiple people. She says that she doesn't think that you should marry the first person that you like. And so she says that when women like meet a guy, fall in love, and then marry that person, they're missing out on all these other men that are out there. And I thought that that was like a really stupid thing for her to say, because if you meet somebody and you fall in love with that person and you believe that's who you want to spend your life with, there's no reason for you to be out there dating anybody else to see if there's something better out there. And then I could tell that Tamara got a little offended by that comment that Adrian said. And she was like, there's different strokes for different folks. And I just think that you shouldn't And I think that you shouldn't judge people based on what they want to do. So the person who wants to date multiple people has just as much right to do that as the person who's looking for love and only wants to focus their attention on one person at a time. Neither one is wrong. So then they moved on to a rumor that's supposed to be out that Jennifer Lopez has been tapped to do a Motown tribute at the Grammys coming up, I guess, in a week or so. And she says that she doesn't know if it's true, but the idea that Jennifer Lopez is who they tapped to do this is kind of bothering her. And so Jeannie says that she don't want to hear J-Lo doing a tribute for Motown, that she want to hear the legends doing it. Tamara says, do we know if J-Lo is the only performer? I want to see multiple performers from the genre. And, so I guess if they're featuring Smokey Robinson, then we need a man out there singing for Smokey Robinson. And since Smokey Robinson is still alive, he can get up there and sing for himself. And then if there's a woman up there singing, then if the woman is still alive, she needs to get up there and sing. But if it's somebody that's passed on, they would prefer to see African Americans who sing in R&B genre to be the ones that do the performance. So Lonnie says that it's not about ethnicity, it is about the type of music, and that J-Lo doesn't sing R&B. And so she thinks that they should get whoever does the tributes on BET award shows to come out and handle this. And Adrian chimed in and said, would we be okay with Adele being a part of the tribute? And so the ladies was like, well, yeah, because she has a soulful sound, but we wouldn't want her to be the only person up there singing. And then Lonnie says that basically she's just going to be honest. She's tired of when it comes to people doing tributes for African American artists. They always want to go get everybody but African Americans. And then it's further an insult that the Grammys are being held during Black History Month, and we still can't get black people on the stage to do the tribute. They went back to Howard University, and this girl named Amara was on the mic. So they asked her, what did she think? And she said that she thinks that J-Lo would kill it either way. It doesn't matter. Then they went to Instagram to get some feedback, and the people on Instagram were saying that J-Lo is a great performer, but could she pull it off? They're not sure, but they're okay with her trying. So then the next topic was Cory Booker, and he's running for president for 2020. And they said that he was on the Breakfast Club, and so they were talking to him. So they were talking about the fact that, he says that he is not in a committed relationship, but he's dating somebody right now. And then Lonnie points out that there has been no single man as president, elected as president, since 1892. And so the question was, is America ready for a bachelor in the White House? So Lonnie says that no woman would be trying, that she doesn't think that we should have a single president in this day and age, because women would be trying to slide up in his DMs, which I agree, and that we should be talking about single people, not just single men, because she would be okay if a single woman was in the White House as well. Tamara wants to know, Tamara thinks that it's a great idea because she said it will be the first White House wedding, and like, how cool would that be? And then Adrian says that she would rather have a single man in the White House than a cheating man, a cheating lying man like the one we got. And then Jeannie says that she wants there to be a female president. Like, she's not even considering Cory Booker because she wants there to be a woman. Then Lonnie says something about, we want the best person in the White House. So Jeannie says that, if there is a single, she's like, well, who would fill in as the first lady? Who would play that role? And I thought that was interesting because if you follow Pastor Jamal Bryant, who was recently hired as the head pastor, the senior pastor at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta. So he's single. And so the former pastor who passed away, his wife is still very active in the church. So she is still in the role of the first lady of the church, and he acknowledges her as the first lady. So Adrian says that she wants to know, like, if he has a girlfriend or gets in a serious relationship, would that person be able to fill the role of the first lady? And she says that all she knows is that we've been spoiled by Michelle Obama, and that it's just going to be really hard for anybody to live up to that role. And so that was it for the real and girl chat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye bye.